Hey, hey. So when we think of drawing in art, usually the first things that come to mind are to begin drawing, then immediately hate how the drawing is looking, erasing it, starting over, and then repeating that cycle. Does this sound familiar? Does it? If you're a perfectionist, perhaps, maybe that's ringing some bells, but that's okay because I was one of those people and still am kind of recovering from those perfectionist tendencies. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some pieces of advice that helped me kind of overcome this vicious cycle and this kind of negative mindset. Some of these I've learned and have kind of adapted on my own. Others I have learned through art classes and just learning from people as I go. The first tip is to not treat your sketchbook like a portfolio. Okay. Now, I'm sure if you're maybe a beginner or were a beginner artist learning how to draw, you've probably searched up sketchbook ideas and just kind of fell into the trap of watching sketchbook tours on here, where seemingly every single page looks like a finished drawing and a perfect sketch, a perfect finished piece of art. And if you haven't, then good for you. Because while they look nice, it's like those are building very high and mainly unrealistic expectations, especially for someone who's just starting out with drawing or just art in general. So when I was first starting out, I would refer to these videos and used to treat my sketchbook like it had to be full of finished and pretty detailed drawings for every single page in order to post them on Instagram, post them on YouTube, literally anywhere. And let me tell you, that quickly led to burnout. Very quickly. Very quickly. So I'm not exactly sure when I made the switch to kind of create more freely. It was probably like from doing so many assignments at school in my art classes where you really did not have time to think too much about the stuff that you were making because the deadlines would pile up if you did. They would pile up and you would actually lose your mind. Maybe we'll talk about that later, maybe not. But that's usually what ends up happening. But somewhere along the way, I just kind of embraced this sort of messy and intuitive and kind of unserious nature of sketching. And this helped me kind of heal my relationship with my sketchbook, helped me to realize that not every drawing has to be a masterpiece. Honestly, not every piece of art in general is even going to be that, because you're going to have to go through a lot of trial and error in order to get to the place where you learn from those past mistakes and apply what you've learned to the more detailed works of art that you end up creating. So basically, your sketchbook is just a place to try things, to explore ideas, to kind of draw stuff that isn't always going to make sense, to let it look and be unfinished. And that's really what I'm getting at here. Once I allowed myself to create these unfinished works and embracing kind of ugly works, kind of the ugly drawings, I actually started to practice more and use my sketchbook more because I was no longer afraid of the drawings not being perfect. That made me improve my art way faster. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is to set aside time to draw, but actually stick to the time limit. Yeah, actually stick to the time limit because usually, like, when you're in sort of a perfectionist spiral or like you're so deep in trying to make every line look perfect, like at that point you're not really learning that much. At that point you're not really learning. At that point you're not really learning as much as you are obsessing over how bad you think the lines are looking. So all those times when I would draw a line, like I would be drawing a face or something, I would draw a line and erase it like 20 times, trying to get it to be perfect. All I was doing was obsessing instead of learning from those mistakes and moving on. So what I did to kind of break that cycle was setting a time limit. So I would say, like, usually I feel for sketches, for me, it works best for very small increments, especially if you're kind of just getting back into drawing and kind of getting back into the routine of using your sketchbook. Just starting off with like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most for one drawing. So setting those timers for those small amounts of time and actually sticking to them. Okay, that's the key. You actually have to stick to the time limits. Because I know it's going to be tempting. It's going to be so tempting to be like, oh, let me just fix this one tiny line. Let me just fix this. Erase this little curve, trying to get the right angle of the curve, trying to get the right everything, trying to make everything just come together. When the truth is, usually everything will come together when all the different parts are working together. So if you're just focusing on one part, then how is everything going to work together? You're, at that point, you're just kind of making that one piece look perfect, and that's going to end up standing out potentially more than creating cohesion within the piece. But that's something that's getting a little too into it. Okay, that's for another time. But yeah, setting strict time limits usually helps to focus more on the process instead of getting stuck in your head and fixating on all the tiny details. It kind of forces you to work faster, make more effective decisions, more efficient decisions. Kind of makes you accept the imperfections because you won't be fixated on them. You'll just draw them and then move on so that your brain kind of doesn't have time to nitpick every single thing that you think might need to be fixed. So that brings me to tip number three, which is to draw badly on purpose. Draw badly, like make ugly art on purpose. Now you're gonna have to hear me out, okay? You gotta hear me out on this. And to illustrate this point, I'm actually going to grab my sketchbook and draw something with my non-dominant hand, which is my left hand. So yeah, let me go grab that. So I have my trusted sketchbook here. This one. This is basic sketchbook. It's not a premium because I'd rather just have it be a place where I can like be messy and like not have to worry about keeping everything neat. So it's just yeah. Tip number 3 is to draw badly on purpose and kind of embrace the imperfections that come with the process of making stuff, especially in the beginning stages. Kind of alleviates some of the pressure to get everything right on the first try. And it basically serves as a reminder that making something that's kind of ugly or that isn't really up to your desired standards isn't the end of the world, isn't the end all be all. Kind of helps to reset your expectations and bring some fun back into creating. So here I am drawing this tapestry that I crocheted. I'm drawing it through the reflection of the screen and also with my non-dominant hand, which is my left hand. So honestly, like I usually don't draw with my left hand very often, if at all. So my expectations are pretty low, like almost non-existent, because I know I'm not going to be able to recreate a solid image of this as well as I would have had I designed it and drew it with my right hand. So that means I don't have to worry about making it perfect because right now there is almost no way for me to make it perfect. The way that I make it perfect is by finding things to love about it, even in this state. So also check out my other video for more content of me drawing reflected images through the screen. Please check out my other video where I do the same thing but with swans, a family of swans, and with my right hand, so it does end up being a little more high stakes. And by high stakes, I mean just slightly higher than no stakes. So I'll put the video somewhere right here, maybe. I'll link it right here, and it'll be in the description. Yeah. The last tip, the last piece of advice is to say one kind thing about each drawing. If I had drawn this when I first started out, I would have finished the drawing and immediately listed everything that I thought was wrong with it. And then I would have moved on, but not really. Okay, like it would have been, those thoughts would have still kind of ruminated in the back of my head for the next time I started a similar project. So instead, I started saying one nice thing about each drawing. Just one. I mean, it can be more, but if you can't find anything, then you just gotta come up with one. So usually my go-to is that this or whatever piece that I made wasn't my favorite, but I still think it looks cool. My go-to, that's my go-to. Now, the thing is, for me now, like, every time I say that, it's true. Like, I actually think the drawing looks cool. Like, I find cool things about it to appreciate, even if the drawing itself isn't one of my favorites. But before, when I was first starting out, it was like I had to just say stuff like, oh, okay, I like the color that I use. Or I had to say, like, if I were using this as an example, I would be like, okay, I like how I filled up the entire page. Like, that would be some things that I would have to come up with as nice things to say about whatever the sketch or drawing was. Now, doing this, it seems like a really small step, and you might be like, oh, wait, like, what is the point of that? And that's kind of what I used to think, not gonna lie, but the main thing that it does is it helps shift your mind from constant self critique and negative thoughts about your work. That's what that does. So, what I would say to close off this video is that you don't have to stop caring. You don't have to stop caring about your art. Despite like many people saying, oh, just stop caring about it so that you don't think about it as much. And hey, if that works for you, then it works for you. But for someone like me, that did not really work. I mean, now it might work, but like it took a lot to get to this point where that kind of works for me. So the bottom line is you don't have to stop caring about your art. Just maybe try caring about it in a way that isn't exhausting and isn't obsessive, and see how that goes. Just let some drawings be experiments, let them be doodles, let them be blobs, let them be paint splatters. Just let them be weird, let them be free. And in doing that, your art will improve as well as your mind. So yeah, try some of these out if you'd like. And if you do, let me know down in the comments what things stuck. Maybe some things that you're on a journey to kind of unlearn like some bad habits maybe, or honestly just anything really. Because you never know, it might help someone else. It might help someone else. Because we're all just learning. We're all just learning and growing from each other. Okay? And with that, I'm going to end the video. If you made it this far into the video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.